Okay, great. Apologies we didn't have an intro today. The reason being is because I've now tried 2 songs from the free library that YouTube has available to people for content creators, and their audio free to use section that has been content ID'd. I give up.
Hey, didn't you
So
hear? Didn't you hear? Kyle has free music for anybody to use. You should just go grab one of his.
I'm just going to take his stuff that he'll claim copyright for. Exactly.
What do you mean claim
can't read his
copyright? He said it
audio
was.
library.
He said it's for free.
It says free.
He
But
said it
wait,
was
wait,
free for
wait.
everybody.
Wait, Steve, don't you have a court order that says all content produced for the Non Sequitur show is yours?
I do actually. I actually do have a court order that says this.
So
very
I
much
could
so.
use something from the archives that might be interesting.
You could. Whatever. What's funny is I kind of wanted a separate intro for this particular show, anyways, because it's Caffeine Corner. The other show is more dedicated to like philosophy and science and my other channel. So I'll have to figure out something. But I do want to get some music for it. So I'll get with you later on that, and hopefully we can find something that's not content ID match, because this Havoc, what is it, Havoc third whatever, I mean, they've been known to fraudulently go after these content claims, and anybody who uses that music, they claim copy ID, because it's very difficult, if not impossible, to try to counter that. It's not as easy as
You can use the. You can use the one I use. You can use the one I use.
Which is
Sav FK. He makes free music on YouTube.
Yeah, I got to find something, but knowing my luck, they probably will try to content ID that as well. But anyways, that's why we didn't have an intro, so my apologies. A couple things to get out of the way real quick. Do have a super chat we started off today with, and that was for our lovely Moon, Aya Moon. She says, "Hail McRae, bow down to your master." Did I do that right? Yes, you did, for $10. That was perfect genuflexing. I appreciate it. I love the praise and adoration.
Jerry flexing, Steve? Really?
Jerry flexing. Is that like Jerry curl? Genuflexing.
It's like geriatric, but anyway.
Yeah, well, at my age, that's what it is. If I try to genuflex, it's geriatric. But yes, thank you, Moon, for that. By the way, I watched you on the Uncalled For the other day with Bullinator producing, and I really do love that show. And by the way, whoever came up with that title, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, I love that. The Uncalled For, it works on so many different levels, right? Because they're atheists.
The girls,
the
girls and I, because we keep coming up with like different little things that everybody wants to talk about. Like Nikki came up with something, but it was just like little one-off ones, right? So we already have that time of the month. We have a half time of the month. So I was thinking, anytime we do like a spur of the moment, let's get everybody together, I was going to call it spotting.
Spotting.
Also, this is what my shirt says.
You and all your feminist stuff. It's so I guess the word would be matriarchal.
Matriarchal, yeah.
Fighting against the patriarch system. But anyways, big shout out to Moon.
Goddamn patriarchy!
Damn us. Yeah, men don't have all the power. Well, I learned a lot watching that show. They had 2 people on. I don't remember their names because they were that important. I think one was Validation Boy. I do remember that one. I don't remember the other guy's name.
God, but that one.
Oh, you know him.
Copeland. Copeland was the other one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess they are like incel / MGTOW / MRA / I don't know. But it's just I was taking notes. So I was like, okay, so this is how you get women. I'm going to write all this down and do the opposite.
I absolutely would love, once Non Sequitur is back, to bring Validation Boy onto an episode and just have a chat. If it makes him feel better, I'll make myself look more mannish.
I was going to say, I
have no idea. I don't know if he can talk to women. I think it might be be an issue.
Yeah, I got that impression.
But yeah,
I was kind of scared.
Well, he was essential. Well, he came when I was on the Uncalled For. That he was in the live chat saying that he didn't want to come on because Moon didn't show her face. So I was like, I do show my face. Come talk to me. And then on top of it, Moon was like, if he goes on to Non Sequitur and you bring me on, I will do a face reveal on Non Sequitur for this. So the offer's out there for him if he wants to take it.
Who would do a face reveal?
Moon.
Moon? I've seen what Moon looks like.
Yeah, but Moon doesn't show her face on air.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, she doesn't go public with it.
She should.
I've seen her in
She
private,
should.
but she's
Yeah.
very pretty.
She is very lovely.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, yes. She has nothing to be concerned about going on camera for. That's for damn sure. But yeah, that's right. I she hasn't actually been on air on cam. That's true. But yeah, that'd
God's
be cool.
auditor did say
definitely
that. God's auditor said that we should sign off for that time of the month with "See you next Tuesday." But I didn't want to use Tuesday because we only do it every other Tuesday. So I was gonna change it from Tuesday to time. So the acronym is so it's cunt.
That makes sense.
CUNT. Yes. See you next time.
But anyways, as you guys may know, Jeff Holiday was supposed to join us today. He unfortunately could not make it. He had some family stuff come up. It happens. I tried to get some other people, but it was too short a notice. But that's okay. We can do our thing without Jeff today. We are going to do something with him probably next week because we want to find a person that wants to debate him on predatory pseudoscience and should it be allowed or should it be more censored and deplatformed. Although I think I think there might be somebody. I think Nathan Thompson might want to talk to him. I don't know though.
Oh God.
I don't know.
I mean, I guess he would know about getting censored after he got arrested for harassing school children.
Yeah, but flat Earth is definitely predatory pseudoscience, but I don't know if that's the direction.
It is
Jeff
when you go
wanted to
after kids like that. Absolutely.
Oh, sure, no. Oh, yeah, but Jeff was more talking about woo-woo peddling as far as like medical stuff, but
yeah,
it's all the same.
The jelly juice type stuff. The stuff we're going to talk about a little bit today with what's it called? The silver solution.
The silver
from
solution.
Jim Bakker. I don't know if I'm saying his last name right. That's how it's spelled. Bakker.
Baker. You know what's funny is Jim Baker. You weren't around back in the early '80s, but Jim Baker. I swear to God, if you looked at him from the '80s and look at him now, it is not the same person. I think he was like taken by aliens, and it's not literally not the same person, but it actually is.
I'm looking up a picture.
It's scary. It's scary. It is because. I mean, he looked old back in the '80s, and I thought I was surprised. I was surprised he came up again because, like,
I thought he was dead. Actually,
I thought he was dead too.
I heard from the bucket of food stuff.
Yes, and then
oh my God!
Right, and then there was the whole fiasco of him getting sent to jail for conspiracy. He was cellmates with
I can see why. Okay, so here's what he looked like in the 80s. There's a link in the chat for anybody who wants to look at a picture. That's a picture. Yeah, no wonder you thought this was a different person. Oh my God.
Yep, that's him. Yeah, that's straight up.
Wow.
I wasn't exaggerating. It's like what the hell happened to you?
The first time I ever watched his program for any length of time, and it was just out of morbid curiosity, is because Tammy Faye was up there talking about how people always decry her and make fun of her because of all the makeup she wears, and she's holding up her compact. This is why people make fun of me, and blah 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 blah. I'm like, wow. You do tend to overuse, lady. Just saying.
Now she did pass. Yeah, she passed, but he didn't. But I thought he did for some reason until I learned about the whole bucket of food scam that he was doing.
He's still doing that.
Yeah, I think they still does.
Yeah, Tammy Faye was the attention.
It's still on his. It's still on his store. I was looking around his store today, by the way, because I saw this clip on Twitter, and I was like, okay, I need to find the whole clip. So I went and it took me almost an hour to find it because it's just part of his like selling show. So it's not like the clip's not on his YouTube or anything, and nowhere sourced the damn clip. I was looking at like New York Times, like I was looking at places that should be considered good sources of information, and they didn't source their information. Please, anybody, if you are ever doing something like this, please source your crap so people can find it.
It does make a lot easier, right?
It does. Luckily, I did find somebody who managed to find the entirety of the clip. It's still not the direct clip from him because you'd have to go and find which episode it's buried in on his website, and I wasn't able to find that. So, but I did find like the full 4-minute clip.
Real quick, do you guys know what day this is? Cheshire and Bull knows what it is, but do the rest of the live chat knows what
Monday?
day this is? It is Monday. Yes, that
Monday.
much is true. But what type of Monday is it? It's I mean, what blank day?
Snowy
is it
one?
No, that's not what we're going for.
It is. Snowy,
it is Atheist Day. March 23rd.
Yay!
Atheist Day. So I made a proclamation. This is the day that atheists come out. This is the day that atheists will talk about atheism and stuff like that. So I made a proclamation on Twitter. Bull, can you read that for us or show it or both?
Yes, I can read it if I can pull it up here.
Yeah, that's fine.
And it says, "Here's my announcement to commemorate this day. I'm not a damn atheist."
That's not exactly what I said.
He said, "I'm not a goddamn atheist."
I said, "I'm not a goddamn atheist."
I left out goddamn. I'm sorry, because I don't believe in God.
Oh, feels bad, man. I have a question. If it's Atheist Day, and as you said, it's atheist time to come out and talk about their atheism, how is this different from any other day for these people?
Yeah, well, I think it's more of a coming out day. It's more like people that go to church, but they really actually believe there are no gods and still goes to church anyways. I think it's for them to say, "Look, I really don't believe this, and I believe that."
That's bizarre.
Why
it's all
would you crap use whatever it is?
It's the social media equivalent of an atheist pride parade. Sorry.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of is like if you were to use it as like a quote unquote religious holiday. You know what? Like I don't really.
Be, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that to me would give it a little bit of like oomph and a little bit of purpose. But like kind of the way this is presented is just kind of like. What? Yeah. I don't understand what this is for. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
Like I said, I don't think it's really much any different than any other day. It's kind of funny because I've had people ask me like, "Well, Steve, why do you talk about agnosticism and atheism and all this other stuff?" And I'm like, "Well, what does the atheist experience do it? What's the difference? They talk about things. I talk about things. We talk about things we like to talk about, right? But you don't have an agnostic day. I'm the minority. God damn it! I'm the one that should have special protection considerations."
Because Steve is trying to make political change based on agnosticism. That's why he talks about it.
I want to push a political agenda.
I do not have any strong feelings one way or the other.
Yeah, we don't know. Hey, what do you want to do about that bill for the budget cuts? We don't know. You just don't vote on anything. There you go. Just suspend judgment on every resolution. Be a perfect politician. Which is kind of what they do now.
You just spend an entire day saying, maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe not. I don't know.
I'm going to be doing a thing later probably on the Great Debate Community channel. No, I might do it on this one. But I did write a blog on I don't know. And it's so funny because when I put my blog on my Facebook page, I got like a lot of responses, and I could tell none of them actually read the blog. All they did was like read the header. It's like, look, if I put a blog out there and I ask a question like that, I kind of assume that you're reading the blog before you kind of comment on it, because everybody that commented on it, I guarantee they didn't read it because it's just like, okay, what's the point?
TLDR.
So, yeah.
TLDR.
I think it was a pretty good blog. I don't know, but we'll do that later on. Yeah.
Helios 5745. So if someone only does religious traditions like church praying and communion for Pascal's wager, but they don't actually believe, are they atheist? ?
Well, not to me, because I hold atheist to be a positive epistemic status. So. Yeah,
wouldn't Pascal's wager be you don't know, therefore you're taking steps to avoid it just in case? So they would be agnostic, not atheist.
It'd be agnostic. Yeah, it's I don't know how to answer the question, right? That's what they mean by I don't know. It's not an epistemic proposition, but yeah, they're just saying, hey, you know what? Better safe than sorry. I might as well, pretend to pray and pretend to believe and pretend to go to church just in case. But at that point, somebody would argue, well, one, there's one of many, 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 many different types of beliefs and gods. Even within the same sex, there's differences to be had, substantial differences. to be had on salvational issues. So the stereology, is that the word for salvation stuff? And so, how do you know you get it right? I mean, you're gonna, if you got to pick something and go with it, but then God will know that you're just pretending. So he doesn't like fakers.
Damn it,
either.
Steve! Just like always, you're only talking about definitions right now. Dear God, come on, stop making semantic arguments.
Yeah, except that it's logical argument. It's epistemic and logic, not people throw that out there like they don't know what semantic means. I don't think. Again, definitions.
I asked somebody a question. Because people were trying to liken the interview that Jim did with you talking to David Silverman and or the police auditor guy whose name escapes me, Warden. And saying that, well, you were okay with this, so why are you having issue with this? And I was like, do you know the difference between an interview and bringing a guest on for a topic? And then they said I was making a semantic argument.
People throw out that word like it's a defeater. There are such thing as semantic arguments, and semantic arguments can be very entertaining when done properly.
Yeah.
But when people throw out, oh, it's just semantic. Here's a semantic argument, Chess, that would be completely meaningless, vacuous. Cheshire is a dog. All dogs are four-legged, therefore Cheshire has four legs. That's a semantic argument, but it's logically valid.
Yeah, you're titling me something for the sake of that. Yeah, it's an argument to say that. Well, we built the definition into it, therefore.
Right.
It's the same argument like, oh, I believe that
as a dog. Right.
Yeah, I believe that God is love. Okay, well, you're just calling it love then, and you're making a semantical argument that you're adding onto it for no real reason. Whereas, like, if I say that I think this word means something, and you say, well, no, it actually means this, there's a discussion to be had to see which terminology is better usages.
Yeah, and that's
Ilya for five. Right. Ilya for 5 says, yep, don't go public, just private. If he comes on, I'll do a face reveal publicly. He's too scared, though, LOL.
I probably think that he is. And yes, it's soteriology.
Oh, he won't. He won't. He won't. Validation boy will not show up. There's no way. He's going to go flat earther route. He'll just be like, no.
And going back to what you said before, though, anybody can have anybody that they want on their channel. Nobody should be saying who you cannot have on. I mean, that's, if you want to have somebody on, go for it. Yeah. But you also have to accept back that by having certain people on and it's not done properly, there could be possible ramifications. I mean, it's a matter of a white nationalist on, but product. If I did, I'm not going to be blowing him, right? I'm not going to be stroking a white nationalist off on the channel. I'm going to be condemning him and explaining why his position is vile and reprehensible, stuff like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, like, we had David Silverman on, and when we had David Silverman on, we talked to him about his case, because that was an interview. We talked to him about his mental state. We talked to him about his case. We gave him pushback about, well, this doesn't make sense, and that does make sense. So can you tell us more about this, this, and this? But none of us were like, oh my God, David, you're so amazing. I joked about it.
I disagree with David, right? I mean, David and I have been on the opposite ends of the epistemological spectrum for years, but he's always been cordial to me, always been civil. I've always been civil to him, and we went on Drunken Peasants together, and we had a great time, both on and off air. And I
loved having him on this show. Or it wasn't on Caffeine Corner. It was on. It's on its own. Yeah, no, it was fantastic. And he was pleasant. He was well spoken. He had his facts together. He wasn't contradicting himself. He was willing to have that conversation, period. Like, there was an actual back and forth and an actual conversation. There wasn't like excuses for anything. It was explanations about, hey, if this was the case, then this. If this was the case, then this. And then we were able to actually converse about. I thought we actually got some really deep stuff out of him, because he was talking about like his mental state when things started and why he kind of went under and how he was feeling at the time.
It was a good interview. It was a really good interview. And yet there have been people in the community that have said, if you have David Silverman on, I'll never come on your channel. And it's like, okay. Well, they didn't directly say it to me, but they've said it to other content creators. I'm like, okay. Yeah. What are you going to do?
And the thing is that, yeah.
Right?
Well, I have heard people make the argument that, well, if you had him on, are you going to have the opposing side on? And it's like, I mean, yeah, but they'll be treated the same way. We would treat them well and with respect. However, that does not mean they don't get pushback on questions. It doesn't mean that they don't get, like, I'm going to ask you about it, and if you say something that contradicts, or if this person has told me this, it's like, well, actually, David had said this, so, and you're saying this now, and these two things directly contradict. Can you maybe elaborate on that? Maybe we're missing something.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I've never been a real big fan of David as far as the things that he's done. But when he was interviewed, he was cogent. He was responsive. His story was consistent, right? And that's what I look for. And now,
he got emotional at times. Like, he got upset at a couple of things we were talking about in questions. But that's not a problem. That's not an issue.
No, not at all. I mean, like I said, I look for people being deceptive. I look for people that having contradictions. I look for people that are running script or narratives, and we've obviously been able to point those out fairly decently. We've given people the tools to point those things out. And by the way, people have taken those tools and used them and then thanked us for it. And you're welcome. It does make a difference when you're able to apply certain critical thinking skills. Right.
My favorite are the people who have sent me messages saying that I watch your show and I've actually learned my child is actually very critical and very logically based in their thought process, and I am far more emotional. Your show has helped me kind of understand where they're coming from, but also how to communicate with them. And that's amazing. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's the goal, right? I mean, people can call it blunt, or some people may even call it, quote, smug or arrogant or whatever. And it's not. It's this, when you take a certain approach where you're kind of avoiding some of the emotional aspects of things. And by the way, there are some times where you shouldn't avoid the emotional aspects. There are times emotions are very valid and should be considered and be addressed. Matter of fact, I just recently with Cheshire and Sweet, there's a lot of emotional stuff going on with that recent interview that Jim had with Kyle, and there's a lot of emotions going on. I've addressed it. I've responded to it. Jim knows exactly my position on it. And it's a shame because he had an interview, which is fine, and he can have anybody he wants on, but the way he conducted it was questionable. Right. And so that's what we were going kind of pounding him on. And the fact that, I don't think it's appropriate to tell somebody, be nice to me, or you wouldn't like the way I am if I'm not. It's very aggressive and hostile. And it's threatening. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I didn't see it at the time, and I apologize for that to Cheshire. I didn't see it at the time, but I did look at it again. I'm like, yeah, I could definitely see that this is hey, you know what, you wouldn't like me if I pissed off, and I might just strike out and smack you if you make me mad, which is, women have been, those kind of domestic cases for a very long time. I didn't
absolutely.
see it at the time.
I've had issues
you
like
and
that
Sweet
in my
point
past.
that out, though.
Yeah, there's something to be said for things along the lines of that. You talk a lot, like there's a lot there during that bit. There was a lot of big talk while I wasn't in the room, and then I came in the room, and then there was an issue with my tone when I was reading something. I wasn't even speaking to him. I was reading out what he had said or what was being said in DMs, right? That was the trigger that whatever happened, and then they left. And then when I left, they came back and were talking big again. Like, what? Bro.
Well, I guess that would have been
tomorrow. You want a dumpster fire? You want a dumpster fire? Talk to me like that while I'm in the room.
But just, I guess there's going to be a part 2 tomorrow.
Is there?
So, yeah, I guess.
Wait, like Jim's having Kyle on tomorrow?
I think it's tomorrow.
Do I get to do another video?
Possibly. I say, hey, because he again, I'm definitely not throwing Jim under the bus. I've already said, I'm not going to lose another friend because of Kyle and these pieces of shits out there. I know Jim and I are friends,
for sure.
And I have a lot of respect for him. Do I think he fucked up? Yes. And do I call him out on it? Absolutely. He knows that. But he's like, I didn't ask him to ask any questions on my behalf. That didn't happen. He did apologize for that. But he asked me again, what questions do you want to ask? I'm like, dude, you ask your own questions. I can just give you the facts. Here are the facts. Ask anything you fucking want. It's your interview. But if you really want direct questions, maybe you get a hold of Cheshire or Sweet and they can tell you. Or Reds, man up a little bit and don't be worried about Reds. Reds is a prick. Okay, that's as a stick. I love Reds for it. I would not have him any other way. If Reds started turning really nice, I probably know what in the hell to do. I'd be like, "Who the fuck are you?" So
Reds and I are the same like that. We're not going to hold your hand.
That's when I would actually be scared of Reds. Because I would think
when Reds is nice to you, you know you're fucked, right?
When he's got something up his sleeve, you know, like if he gets all of a sudden, he's been a dick to you the whole time, and all of a sudden he starts treating you like his best friend. He's got something up his sleeve.
You know he's planning something, right?
Troubles abounding. Failed in engineering for 2 said, AE can have a tantrum, but Cheshire's tone was wrong, question mark. Yeah, you know, whatever. This is gonna be fun. Yeah, if he does another one, I look forward to commending him if he improves his behavior and the way he handles himself and how he does this interview. If he does that, I look forward to commending him in the future. So if he does, I'll still do that video and be like, hey, you know, congratulations, this was way better. Good shit. Well done. Yeah. Still don't talk to me, though.
I'm not big into tone policing. I've never been a big fan of it. I mean, there are times...
That was a joke, by the way. I was kidding when I said that.
I know you are. But I am not kidding about tone policing. It's people. If you spend more time tone policing and avoiding the actual argument, is just a deflective technique, right? You know, I mean, people have come after me with different tones, and 99% of the time, I'm not going to say shit about it because I don't care, unless it's too egregious, or you know, if I'm like on modern day debate, I'm having a debate with somebody, and their tone does go beyond. Yeah, I'm probably going to say something because I'm not there to, you know, have somebody being belligerent.
Yeah, there's a difference between.
You know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, there's a difference between somebody having a tone or an attitude and somebody flipping out. Or being they're not talking about the topic anymore. They've just gone off the deep end and they're just spiraling into whatever it is that they're saying, and they're not being cogent. Like it's not there. Whatever argument they're trying to make is getting lost because they're just flipping out. That's not a tone issue. That's a self-control issue. And like, dude, you can think whatever you want about the way somebody's speaking to you one way or another, but the only thing that really needs to be controlled is when they get out of control, right? You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. In a conversation.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll see if Jim reaches out to anybody to, you know, kind of get, you know,
not me,
I guess. Yeah,
listen, all of mine were in the video. The 2 videos that I did, if you need any information, it's all there. It's all there.
Yeah, I mean,
so there's no point.
I just said go by facts and evidence. I mean, there are certain indubitable, unquestionable facts to the matter to be had. I mean, I guess people can doubt them if they want, but I mean, if you go read the paper, read the court papers, you know, it says explicitly, you know, certain things, right? These are facts in evidence, right? Kyle was found liable for fraud, fraudulent conversion, unjust enrichment. Well, no, you didn't get the unjust enrichment. That would have been a catch-all. It was unfair and deceptive trade practices, right? So these things are facts and evidence. He lied about having a lawyer. He lied about having a CPA. He lied about having money for me. These are all things that are unquestionable. So. Mm-hmm.
Helios for 5 said, Red's best moments are always preluded via him suddenly being extremely polite. I learned to pay attention and get popcorn ready at these moments.
Yeah, he's just fishing somebody in. He's reeling them in for the bite, you know? He's just being really nice.
Well, a really good example was when he did his fundraiser, and he was like, oh, you know, people have been talking about this, and I can't stand for that, and people saying that stuff that I've been doing is fraudulent, or I've been stealing money from people, and, you know, I really think this is important to address, and we're having a fundraiser tomorrow, see you guys there.
And I gave him money for it, like I have before the past. You know, I've made, wait, what's the grand total that I have made from Avi fundraiser that's ever been out there? Zero. Yes. I actually, and I have.
Because that's not how a fundraiser works.
Here's the thing: Bulliner has my goddamn tax return. Do the math. I gave away 10% of my entire fucking income in 2018 to charitable events. 10% of my entire income I gave away, and I didn't make a dime off any fundraiser. Zero. So,
glorious.
So if you count me, it's more than 10%, Steve. If you count me,
I did count. Well, I did count you.
Okay.
It was over 10%. I mean, I counted you. I counted Reds. I counted a few other people that in the community that I've donated to. I don't want to be specific, but I have given money because they needed it. Right. I had somebody give me many moons ago. I had somebody give me $200, and that $200 basically saved me. I mean, it was like one of those critical do or die things. And ever since then, I paid it forward when somebody needs help as much as I can. I mean, recently things have been a little bit different because of all this other crap going on with fundraisers, the narratives that are out there. But straight up, I've never made a dime off a fundraiser.
Well, that's the difference between like hosting I'm a horrible them, person right?
For giving, right? What's that?
I said, well, that's the difference between hosting them, right? That doesn't mean you're not doing your own stuff in the background to help people out. So, speaking of fraudulent garbage, we should start pulling some of this stuff up.
Yeah, because we went from David. I wanted to go from David Silverman to the Silver Solution. Would have been a good segue, but we kind of missed out on that. Yeah, that would have been good. All right, so where do you want to start on this? Thoughts and prayers.
Should we? Thoughts and prayers. Okay, why the Templeton? Do you want to do why the Templeton prayer study failed, or do you want to do Jim Baker?
You know what? Let's do Jim Baker real quick.
Jim Baker?
Yeah, because they're finally holding him accountable. About time.
All right, Boole, pull up the clip and probably play it at 1.5 speed. Please, Lord,
we do everything at 1.5
bless us
anymore,
this day
right?
Let me dial
with this clip.
Speed. Let me dial in
if you could get that for us. Praise
Chip.
be to our Lord and Savior, Boole above.
Let me get the speed dialed in, and here we go.
Do you remember the movie Animal House where the kid is praying and the Playboy Bunny's on the float and the float hits something and the Playboy Bunny goes flying into his window and he's like, "Thank you, God." That was me.
God gave us this product, I believe. Yes. How many years ago did we get this product? He gave this to us about 10, 12 years ago. Yeah. And we have it at our home. Yeah. We have it in cases. We use it all the time. I have this, and I don't think I'd have made it without silver. For my throat and all that.
What a shame.
And this is amazing. Why is silver so? Would you recommend, as a doctor, people to have silver in their house for a pandemic? You never want to be without silver. Never.
As a doctor?
Never. This is a staple. Yeah, staple. This is a staple for your family. Yes. And we can talk more about it. Maybe we have more time. Yeah, we got time. All I can say is that it has been proven by the government that it has the ability to kill every pathogen it has ever been tested on, including SARS and HIV, which you may or may not want to get into as a part of this concern with this virus. And it can kill any of these known viruses like SARS. It has been tested on SARS. It has been tested on the bird flu, H5N1, and it is a 99% kill within 12 hours of exposure to the silver. And you get killed earlier, but 99% kill within 12 hours. So we know that it has
hang on. All right, so wait a minute here. Okay, so let's put things in perspective here. You know what? You drop shit in battery acid, things are going to die. Okay? So, I mean, this actually shows absolutely nothing about, I'm sure, she's talking about colloidal silver, I assume, right? Because I haven't looked in this product, but is it colloidal silver, which is a suspended solution of called a colloid?
I will double check.
It's basically large macroparticles of silver suspended in a solution, called a colloidal solution. So if she's talking, I'm pretty sure she's talking about colloidal silver, but that's not a solution. It's a colloid, and I don't know if colloidal is considered to be I think it's distinct from a solution, if I'm not mistaken, but we need GeoStreamer to actually, as the chemist, to tell us. But a colloidal is a type, is similar solution, but it's not mixed in homogeneous wise, or it's actually going to have these macro things of silver. The problem with colloidal silver, if this is what they're talking about, is colloidal silver can actually cause lots of damage, neurological damage. It can actually turn your skin blue. People have actually legit had their skin turn absolutely blue for taking silver, because silver is not a necessary nutritional mineral. It's not does no known function for the body, from what I understand. It's not something you need to take, and the body will have this reaction to it, causing your skin to turn blue, and it's non-reversible.
It kills those infections and those pathogens, but it's not selective. It'll also kill you eventually if you take enough of it. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, battery acid. It's like, okay, I drink battery acid and poured it over my cancerous tumor, and I got rid of it, and also, took out all the flesh with it as well.
Has anybody ever seen this guy taking the solution on any regular basis?
No.
Because anybody ever seen this gym guy taking any of this stuff? Because if it turns your skin blue and he says he takes it like regularly, you'd think there'd be some tinge going on. I'm not saying he'd be part of the Blue Man's group, but
They do look like they're part of the Blue Man Group. It's straight up blue. I mean, it's bizarre how it affects the body. But again, I mean, this is just a scare tactic. I mean, they know that the CV-19 is a pandemic. They say this is a quack cure. It has no medical value to it. And he's being sued.
They're being very specific, though, right? They're being sued. Yeah, there's something very specific that they're saying. When the pathogen is exposed to this, ingesting it is not the same as exposing a pathogen to it. Mm-hmm. Those are not the same thing. So if somebody says like, oh, look, I've got this virus in a petri dish, a petri dish, and you drop this stuff on it and the virus dies and everything else in there dies, it's like, oh, look, it got rid of it. Oh, yeah, but drinking it puts it into a system, not into a contained situation. This is garbage.
A good example would be if you have a yeast infection, do you want to drink bleach?
Well, no, if you have a yeast infection, you don't drink the bleach. You insert
squirt it in there. So, I mean,
you get like a turkey baster, and you just put the bleach in the turkey baster and just.
Well, I mean, certain uses actually, basically, not like my roommate actually.
That's how they do abortions.
Well, you can make a good foot solution using bleach, but it has to be diluted, right? And he one time didn't dilute it. He just basically used a full cup of bleach and some water, and his feet were fucked. I mean, they turned white and they were sore for months.
It would have killed all of the skin. It would have killed all the skin.
Yeah, it did. It was not good. I mean, it oxidized an entire foot. That's why I explained to him, I'm like, dude, you can use bleach for a foot bath. I've done it yourself, but you use like a cupful in a gallon. Okay, matter of fact, when you're purifying water, the ratio for 1 gallon of water is basically a small cupful of bleach, like a capful. It doesn't take that much to purify the water to kill any of the organisms. You don't put a cup of bleach in a gallon of water and drink it or use it on your foot. That's way too much. It's only small amounts. But this is crackery at its finest. And by the way, one of the things we're going to have Jeff on for is to talk about predatory pseudoscience like this.
This lady here, he said doctor. Do we know who this lady is?
No idea in the world.
I'm going to look her name up. Hold on. Well, I don't mean hold on like as in wait. I just mean hold up.
Looking that up.
Yep.
You find it?
No. Go ahead. It's going to take me a minute.
Okay, while she's doing that, so Missouri decided to sue Jim Baker for selling a fake CV virus cure. Even though he doesn't necessarily explicitly, say drink this and you'll be cured. There's intent to be had there, especially during times of pandemics. They do crack down a little bit more, and because he said on the show, you're saying that the silver solution would be effective, right? He says this influenza is now circulating the globe. You're saying that silver solution would be effective to I guess this doctor, and the so-called natural health expert, by the way, she is. Oh, Cher Silman. Is that her name? Cher Silman. Implied that the liquid be effective. The CV virus impacting more than 120,000 people worldwide does not have yet a known treatment or cure. And so this is predatory. This is straight up predatory. Yeah, that's who it is. Her name's Cher Silman. She's not she's a naturopathic doctor. She's a naturopath.
How do you spell her name? Last name?
S-H Selman. Well, Selman. How appropriate is that? S-E-L-L-M-A-N. Yeah.
Wow.
So she went and got her PhD from a diploma mill is what probably happened.
Well, I'm not sure. I think she has a BA in sociology and psychology from University of Pittsburgh. She has a doctor of naturopathy from Trinity College of Natural Healing. I don't think that's probably credited by. We'll look. Trinity College of Natural Healing. Accredited. I seriously doubt it is. It doesn't. I can't see if it's credited. I don't think it's accredited.
Yeah,
so she has a bachelor's and a master's appears, but it's an alternative school of medicine, so I don't see how I can be accredited.
Yeah, so she's not a doctor.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think
good for the doctors, I guess.
Is legit.
Yeah, no.
Well, and if if it claims to be accredited, I wouldn't be surprised if it was one of those useless accreditations that are basically circular with the actual institution itself.
Right. Helios for 5 said, God, it's like listening to the Alvin and the Chipettes try to sell Jilly Juice as a get-rich-quick scheme. I also question her credentials as a doctor.
Yeah, again, I mean, they go by naturopathic doctor, but naturopathy is actually, in Wikipedia, is a form of alternative medicine that employs an array of pseudoscientific practices branded as natural, non-invasive, or promoting self-healing. So I just don't see.
So she's not a doctor.
Chiropractic type thing. Yeah, I wouldn't put her.
She's not a. She's not a doctor, and they don't put her name or her thing up during this clip at all, like her name or where she's accredited at all. I assume she shows up on the show more often, so people that watch their show, I guess, are expected to know who she is. But dear Lord.
Yeah. So to me, I would not categorize something like this promoting naturopathic, this type of naturopathic stuff as a credible physician.
No.
That doesn't mean there's not natural stuff to be had. I'm fine with natural medicines, but this is not one of them.
Should we keep going?
Yeah, let's go.
Activate these viruses successfully. So, but what we do, what I do, I don't wait until I get that virus. I use this as an immune builder. This is what I use every single day. Yes, so that's the other key piece that we need to talk about. You want something to use when you are in the, coming down with something. Yeah. This is your go-to. And by the way, it has to be the very first sign. You don't want to tough it out and go a little sore throat, a little headache, I can get over. No, that's when you have to hit it hard. Yeah. Because then you'll get it before it replicates in the body, right? But what you really want to do is build a strong immune system now. Yes, now, and keep it strong, because if you have a receptive and functioning immune system, you will, that's your protective shield against anything, because the body does have the capacity to heal and to recover and to deal with these viruses. I always wonder who are the most vulnerable people who die from these flus and things. It's usually the elderly. It's usually people with the most immune-compromised system. Exactly. So we have to keep strong, and we have to make it a priority in our life. So, Dr. Salmon, how much, just from just immune-building standpoint, should we take every day? So if you want to take it as a maintenance dose, it's taking 2 to 3 teaspoons a day. That's maintenance dose. And you can put it in anything.
Teaspoons?
You can put it in your soup.
Hold up.
Yeah, okay, hang
on. Teaspoons?
Yeah, what's the doses of this stuff? And
teaspoons?
Where is the studies out there that shows this has any medicinal purposes or efficacy of any kind? There isn't any. There actually, as it says, there's no sound scientific studies to evaluate these health claims have been published in reputable medical journals. In fact, the Food and Drug Administration has taken action against some of these manufacturers of colloidal silver products for making unproven health claims.
2 to 3 teaspoons?
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, and excessive doses of colloidal silver can possibly cause irreversible serious health problems, including kidney damage and neurological problems such as seizures. So, I mean, do they tell anybody this stuff? Do they admit to everybody? There's been no medical stuff to actually support any of this stuff. And by the way, it can cause neuropathy and seizures and possible kidney damage and irreversible side effects like your skin turning blue. Right.
There is no way. There is no way in hell. Okay, so catch what just happened. She said that, I like to take this as a maintenance dose, and I take it every day. How many do you think we should take because I do it to strengthen my immune system, how much should people take at home to strengthen their immune systems? 2 to 3 teaspoons. There is no way in hell Miss Baker there is taking 2 to 3 teaspoons of that crap a day. There is no way. I don't believe it for a second.
Well, Ms. Baker's
no
dead,
way.
But yeah. No, I don't think any of them stuff even take their own product. You called her
what? His wife is dead? No,
dead.
Not her. Jim Baker's wife is dead?
Tammy Faye Baker died of cancer, back in the years.
No. The lady. No. That's Lisa. There's another Miss Baker.
Oh, is there? Oh, I don't know.
That blonde girl is his wife. Apparently,
oh, really?
That's what I saw when I looked it up. Okay. Yeah, sorry, not that one. The one that's on the show right now.
Tells you how much I pay attention to these con men. But yeah, I don't think any of them take it. I don't think any of them eat their own bucket of food either.
Oh, no.
But anyways, they are being sued. The FDA is cracking down, and hopefully this will eventually put them out of business completely. But they've always been this type of parasite. I mean, it's just parasitical.
Well, they're cracking down on it now because they're trying to take advantage of the C19 virus, right? So they're trying to take advantage of that, like the people's panic and people's worry and concerns about this. But on the same time, this stuff should have been cracked down on ages ago, and there's no real reason why it shouldn't have been. But kind of, I don't want to say too little, too late, because at least it's happening. It's just hopefully they'll stay on top of it after this.
Yeah, well, I think the FDA and the FTA and I think all these organizations should crack down on these type of predatory things. And this is, I was hoping I would have the discussion with Jeff Holiday about, because I happen to agree with Jeff. I think when it comes to these predatory things, we have an obligation as a society to crack down and protect people that do buy this stuff. I mean, from their own, their own selves, because one, people are going to buy this not knowing the fact that it is nothing essential, it doesn't do anything, and it's very harmful. And two, you have people that are just willing to believe anything, and they'll just because.
Well, you've got people who are taking advantage. Right. They're taking advantage of people who are already desperate or already in need a lot of the time. That's what a lot of TV evangelical stuff is taking advantage of people who are, one, stuck at home and can't get out, two, that have been ostracized by their churches, three, people that suffer from like insomnia or depression, which is why they're watching this kind of crap at like 3 o'clock in the morning, all that.
That's why
they're taking advantage of
for that very reason. You know that, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're trying to take advantage of people who are not in a stable state of mind to be able to make these kinds of decisions properly. And I think that's part of the thing, because part of why people are like, oh, well, we don't need to help or protect these people. It's their money. Let them spend it how they want. I agree with that. However, you're talking about taking advantage of people who are not capable of making an informed decision in this case. It's the same thing that applies to funeral costs and when people are buying caskets for loved ones who just recently died. They are in no shape to be making that kind of financial decision and a lot of places prey on that, and they'll try and upsell them and gouge thousands of dollars from people for caskets. And that's predatory. That should not be allowed. Godless Scummer for 5 said, my video debunking Baker was removed by YouTube, yet people claiming C19 is a hoax still have their videos up. YouTube, sort your algorithm out.
Amazing, right? I mean, just amazing. But this is goes back to people taking advantage of the elderly in Florida. People would be remember the old siding, selling siding to seniors, and people taking advantage of people that are just not in the right frame of minds to make certain types of decisions. This is why we have laws in this country preventing predatory abuse of elderly and mentally challenged or disabled that can't make these types of decisions. And so, for example, when you're watching late at night, I watch late night stuff because I'm pretty much an insomniac. Where do you think you find the commercials? Are you lonely tonight? Just call 1-800-555-8679 to chat to the most sexiest girls. It's like they're preying on people that are up late and probably lonely, right? And by the way, those are expensive. No, I've never dialed one, but I mean, it's like $2.99 a minute. I mean, they really are predatory. But that's what they do. This is exactly what they do. By the way,
we ready to keep
pushed back to the end of March. By the way,
we ready to keep rolling?
Yeah. See what else we got.
What interview?
Oh, Kyle, part 2.
I was gonna say Kyle's interview with the judge.
That's funny. Go on.
I give it to my little daughter. I just let her drink it right from the bottle.
You just implied to drink the whole bottle.
I want her to be helpful, but it works. It works for just sore throats. It works like in the middle of the night when you're raspy and you're draining down your throat, and it'll heal it up. And
so does just water.
So what you want to know, it's used for any age group. You can give it to babies. Yes. It has been
give it to babies.
Okay, that is exactly why they should be cracking down, folks. You give this to a child, you are impairing their development. Point blank, you're going to fuck them up.
It's straight up abuse.
It is child abuse.
I would.
Did they? I need to know. I need to know if they specify how much of a dosage you should give to a child. Because if they are giving 3 teaspoons to a child, that's a load.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they're barred from selling it because of this lawsuit. And like I said, I hope they all end up in jail. In fact, I should say with Baker end up in jail again. How long did he spend in jail? What was he, like, for a decade or some shit?
I don't know. Time. He did time.
Yeah, but I mean, they're all predatory con then. I don't know how much I don't know if I can go much more on this. It's just.
We haven't gotten to the C. We haven't gotten to the C-19 yet.
Well, this is only got 12 seconds left in it, so you might as well just let it run out.
God.
Tested. There are no side effects from it, and you can't overdose on it. The body will use it efficiently, and whatever it doesn't need, it's gone.
No side effects. Okay. How about she drinks a bottle of this every hour on the hour for like next 6 months, and we'll see what happens.
Right. Do it, coward. See what happens.
Yeah, this shtick has been around for a very long time. I remember Color Silver back 10, 20 years ago. That it was still, people were peddling it, so it's nothing new.
That's bad. That's so bad. I had a clip that's. I had a clip that specifically had her had them comparing the virus, and they were saying that specifically it's been because Jim actually asked, "Hey, is this does this work on this C-19 virus?" And she said, "Well, it hasn't been tested on that specific strain, but it's been tested on all of these strains, and it works, and within 12 hours." So now you've got people taking this who have the virus, who are going out thinking they're cured or thinking they're safe.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They've been immunized, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I will post a link to the exact clip.
It's counterproductive of what the goals are to stem the pandemic, right? It's counterproductive to the quarantining, the self-quarantining. And by the way, I went shopping this morning, and it's been about the same. There was hardly any eggs. There was milk. The produce was good too, but there was hardly any frozen stuff. The meat was halfway there. No paper towels. I mean, it was ravaged. But there are signs everywhere saying limit 1 per person. So it was not very busy by any stretch of imagination. In fact, it was probably the deadest I've ever seen it. But people have stockpiled way more than they needed to. And by the way, most of these places are now saying, if you bought excess, too damn bad, you're not able to return it. And I think that's right. I don't think they should be able to return it. Costco said, no, we're not going to have a liberal return policy. You cannot return water, toiletries, paper towel.
Oh, you can't. You can't. Absolutely not. No,
nope.
You can't.
They said, nope, you're not returning it, which I think was the best move they've ever made. Because considering they should have put a limit of 1 to begin with, right? When they saw this hoarding starting to happen, they should have taken action then, and they didn't, which was, I think, a bad mistake.
No, absolutely. And I just linked the exact clip in the chat if people are interested in that also.
Is this from Twitter? American Tesla Advantages Jim Baker is selling a liquid that allegedly kills the coronavirus. $300. That shit's $300.
Yeah.
$300 for shit.
Kill yourself for the low price of $300 a bottle.
Wow. Unbelievable. Yeah. I think he should be in jail for this. I you know what? They might actually press charges as he is being sued. There might be criminality aspects to be had here. But he is definitely somebody who's a blight against humanity. These are the people in society that I find not just people that are harmful, but malignant, right? I mean, these people are predatory and serve no function in society whatsoever.
Yeah, here's the issue with the quote. Silver Solution, quote, has been proven by the government that it has the ability to kill every pathogen it has ever been tested on, including SARS and HIV.
So does battery acid. drop a petri dish of battery acid. Tell me what happens.
Hey, look, we got rid of the SARS. We shot the person. Yay!
Yeah, he's cured.
Helios for 5. He's cured. Helios for 5 said,
cured.
Careful of produce. Teens have started a new trend of coughing as TikTok prank, like licking the underside of ice cream lid. Always watch your produce.
Yeah, I wash everything. And by the way, those people that did the whole lick stuff, like the ice cream and all that stuff,
getting arrested.
Every one of them, I think, should be arrested and charged with it's obviously like at least assault, right? Assault and battery of some kind.
It's putting people purposefully in harm's way.
It should be a 5-year mandatory prison sentence. I mean, there needs to be something done. I mean, who does? But this is what I'm saying. Who does this kind of shit? Like, look, we deal with a lot of shitty people on the internet. We see it all the fucking time. People are just shit people, and these hoarders and these people that went in and just, thought about themselves and didn't think about anybody else. Yeah, those are the shit people of society. We have a plethora of them on the internet. We deal with quite a few of them. I think that there is a time where if you're that kind of shit person where you're going to be putting people at risk because you make a video of licking, ice cream and then putting it back on the shelf, you need to go to motherfucking jail.
Well, the people who were licking the ice cream back in the day, they were arrested and charged, if I'm not mistaken. So I imagine that the same. Well, yeah, because they made videos of themselves doing it. So yeah, they got caught. So in this case,
probably 30 days, a fine. I don't think any of them got anything more than a slap on the wrist.
Oh, I'm pretty sure the fine was pretty large, but I'd have to double check. But in this case, I just imagine that fine will be through if they're not jailed or like incarcerated for some kind of endangerment. Jen's Van for 5 said, "Love you all. Stay healthy. Follow the known rules as they do help. Yes, take care of yourselves."
Yeah. And by the way, you hear the dad joke that I started running out of toilet paper, so I had to start using newspaper. Times are rough.
And Mikey Famine brought up a really good point on In Time the other night. I guess it was last night, actually. He said, "Stop fucking hoarding. Just don't do it." There's only so much room on a truck for toilet paper, and I think he said it was something along the lines of 36 to 40 pallets of toilet paper. That's all they normally get on a truck, right? At these big box stores. So when you hoard all that, say the store sells out and they hoard all that and they have no more on the shelves, well, then they're going to start prioritizing toilet paper. Something else on that truck has to make room. And that's going to be food. So if you're hoarding toilet paper, you're affecting how much food that store can keep in stock.
Absolutely.
And if you affect how much food they keep in stock, how the fuck are you going to eat when you run out? Because they won't have it either. You're literally
hoarding isn't helpful.
It's not.
Yeah,
Go to the store.
It's not even helpful for yourself.
Wait till you get to your last roll and go buy toilet paper like every time else it fucking happens.
Those people have recognized that now. I think a lot of them, and now a lot of them have been giving stuff away because they have enough toilet paper to last 50 years. And now the stores have got smart and said you have one. And so
it makes sense to me if people normally buy 1 pack whenever they go out. It makes sense to me if people were buying 2. That makes sense to me. Like, I grabbed an extra one just in case. That I get that. That's fine. But if you're getting anywhere upwards of 5, or like if you're getting, I bought 3 or I bought 4 because normally I get 1, but I'm getting an extra one for myself, but also for my neighbor. Okay, but if you're buying anything upwards of 5 and you don't have like a signed piece of paper that says, "Hey, my cousin needs to have this dropped off," blah blah blah, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, and by the way, somebody pointed out, like in the live chat, I don't know why notifications are not working too well. Other people have said this as well.
YouTube in general has been having problems.
It's not just this channel; it is other channels as well having problems with notifications. People not finding it and not coming up on, like, normally it'll say like live, and also it's not doing any of that. And it's not, like I said, it's not just this channel. I've seen other channels; their numbers are extremely low. Lower than normal, and I think
which is bizarre because everybody's at home watching YouTube.
Yeah, right. I mean, and I wonder if I wonder if they've actually turned down the algorithm or something. I wonder if they've actually adjusted something, because when you have a channel that
gets
100, 150, 200 views, and like my channel had like 12 people watching the other day. In Time had like 4 people watching the other day. And the channels I've noticed are about 75% less than normal. This is not normal on YouTube. So
and
when people say, well, I didn't even get a notification.
And it's getting bad for the creators last night, because last night I actually had to go back into classic mode and use Stream Now within time, because we tried to start a stream through the new interface, and there's that go live in the upper right. That go live button would not illuminate and say it was okay to go live.
I've had that problem too in
connection excellent, but I can't go live.
Yeah, I don't like this
That's
YouTube
weird.
Studio. I always try to go back to Classic, although it won't allow you much longer because it's getting rid of the Classic. But I think the YouTube newer version, the beta, is horrific. It's buggy and slow. I mean,
and it's unclear. It's a horrible interface. You go in there.
It's a horrible interface.
And you can't just say, I want to go live and do it. Like,
it explains nothing. I tried to figure it out, and I got most of it figured out, but it is very counterintuitive. It's hard, and like I said, it is really slow. Like, even if you go into like your settings and you go to your community, and you, like, for example, like, let's say somebody was hidden and you want to remove them, you click on it. It takes like 10 seconds before you can save it. It's really slow.
And I've actually had it block people that shouldn't be blocked and move them from the moderator list to the block list. That's happened to me.
Jens points out a good point. She says Google has had bandwidth issues and currently changing some things, which probably makes sense because more people are home, more people are watching stuff, so they're probably throttling, and they are probably temporarily changing something because something.
Well,
has
we kind of
changed.
figured that they were. Well, we kind of figured that they would be making some changes to the algorithm specifically because they said they were sending people home amid this issue. That YouTube would not have as many active bodies as it normally, like actual people. And we already know that YouTube has like dick all for people anyway.
Like,
so now they've got
there,
even
right?
less people. Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised they had enough people to justify sending people home. Right?
Yeah, they don't have active humans. It's actually all run by AI. But yeah,
so
the people
well,
that
there's a
actually
decent
showed up
chance
this
that
morning, you
more
guys were the lucky ones.
things. Yeah, more things are actually being done automatically.
Yeah.
So,
well, like I said, I had 12 people on the other channel the other day. That's the lowest I've ever seen. And by the way, I was doing restreaming, and I was wondering if that had an effect, because it's the first time I've ever done restream from that channel to Facebook and to YouTube, and it didn't give notifications out, so nobody even knew about it. And like I said, that's why I only had like 12 people watching. So I think it was a restream issue, and then combined with YouTube. So it is what it is. But you guys made it today, so yay.
Pray for us and pray for YouTube, I guess, because apparently that's supposed to work.
Well,
Which
yeah,
is the segue I'm using.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Why the Templeton prayer study failed is what, if you don't mind pulling that up there, Boole. And we'll take a look at this. For anybody who doesn't know what the Templeton prayer study was, it was a study that was essentially, they took a group of people who were praying, they took a group of people who were all getting the same surgery, which was to the heart, I think it was a bypass, and they had, these people are getting prayed for, these people weren't getting prayed for, a subgroup in the people who were getting prayed for knew they were getting prayed for, and people in the other half of the subgroup didn't know that they were getting prayed for. And they found that there was no difference, and the prayer had zero effect on either groups, except for one small blip on the people who were getting prayed for, who knew they were getting prayed for, which had a tick increase by about 2% or 3%, ended up having more heart arrhythmia problems. Which they figured was due to the stress of knowing there were people that, like, there was stress being put onto them because they knew people were praying for them, so there was an expectation. So, why it failed. This was shared by SJ. I came across it on Twitter, and I was like, oh, what's she looking at? Christian apologist. Religious skeptics often point to the result of from the Templeton's prayer study, which is the largest study of I always say it wrong, intercessory, because I want to say sensory, but it's not. It's intercessory, which just means groups of people who don't know you that are praying for you. To be conducted to date. To claim prayer doesn't work. In fact, they point to the result, which suggests prayers made things worse for those whom prayers were directed. Below, I have surmised that the study, methodology, and result before offering the limitations that should be considered before making such assertions. The authors of the study collected data from 1,802 patients in 6 hospitals in the United States and randomly assigned them one of 3 prayer groups. 604 were told they may or may not receive prayers, and they received intercessory prayers. 597 were told they may or may not receive prayers, and they did not receive prayers, and 601 received prayers after being told they would receive prayers. Christians prayed for 14 days from afar, starting the night before the patients were going into coronary artery bypass surgery. They were asked to give a very specific prayer, quote, for a successful surgery with a quick and healthy recovery and no complications, to a person they had never met who was identified only by first name and last initial. They were not given pictures or any other identifying information about the patients. In the 2 groups uncertain about receiving intercessory prayer, complications occurred in 52%, 315 out of 604, of patients who received intercessory prayer versus 51% of 304 out of 567. Of those who did not, complications occurred in 59% of patients certain of receiving intercessory prayer, compared with the 52% of those uncertain of receiving intercessory prayer. Major events of the 30-day mortality were similar across all 3 groups. So yeah, essentially, those are the numbers. Everything was pretty much basically the same across the board, so which implies that the prayer had no effect. There was no difference between this one and this one. All the results were about the same. Quote, several major limitations should be acknowledged. Firstly, the prayers were given to strangers from a distance to whom the people prayers had no, this should say people praying, had no emotional or personal attachment. One could assert such prayer would not have the power as those people give to their loved ones undergoing surgery. Here's where we start coming up with excuses. The study did say that. The study said that in this case, intercessory prayer showed to have no effect. Make sense? So it doesn't apply to like, oh, my mom was praying for me and that connection is what makes prayer work. But that's not what the Bible says either. Am I wrong about this?
No, you're not wrong. And by the way, I do think people will probably have a little more stress when they believe, they're being prayed for. They have higher expectations. But here's the thing, and I don't know what SJ's counter to any of this actually was, but when you're dealing with something like prayer has no mechanistic ontology. It has no ability that we can recognize to say, if this, then that. For example, if I drop a ball, I could use the theory of gravity to say the ball is going to drop to the earth every single time, right? I mean, we would have an expectation that every single time I do it, all things, considered, like a gust of wind doesn't blow back up, the ball is going to fall down to the ground. There's a control to be had there, right? So when you're dealing with something like prayer, we don't know what the controls actually are. God could grant the prayer, or he can't grant the prayer. I mean, the 3 outcomes are God. If God existed, God granted it. God didn't grant it, or you got the answer basically not at this time. It's like a magic 8-ball kind of thing, right? But that would be about him not answering the prayer or giving you a non-answer. But there's no real control to be had there. So even if prayer seemed to be doing better, then why would God allow for that? I mean, do you think God's up there going, you know what, I want people to know that prayer works? If he was that willing to show that prayer worked on such a huge statistical level, let's say like 3 standard deviations from norm. So let's say you had a control populace of 100 patients and 50 of them were prayed for and 50 of them weren't, and all 50 of them died and all 50 of them survived. That's going to be substantive, right? That's going to be something that is substantive. That's going to be like, oh my God, hey, there's something going on here. And people would fund money to have
like if there was a 25% increase in the rate of recovery or something like that.
Substantial, right? Significant amount that cannot be concluded by chance, right? That's the whole point of having an experiment. We want to be able to reject the null hypothesis, which is basically the likelihood per chance, simplistically speaking, right? We want to show there's a significant difference between
and it needs to be able to be repeated, right?
And has to be repeated, right? And so we don't ever see this, right? Because we don't have a defined mechanism by which prayer can help, right? With when I drop the ball, there's a defined mechanism. There's gravity. We don't have that in prayer. So
right.
How
so
do you do any study?
Yeah. So there's also an issue with what they're bringing up here. That's not a limitation of this study. The study wasn't about connected people. The study was specifically about unconnected people. So this is misrepresenting what the study was actually about. This is making an excuse and making up a limitation for the study that didn't exist because the study wasn't about that, right? You could still say that, oh, hey, well, maybe people need to be interconnected or well known to somebody for a prayer to be effective. Why? I don't know. That would be, if you were able to demonstrate that it works in this case and doesn't in this case, then you can start worrying about the why, to be honest, because then you start running into moral issues and some so can I not, is it pointless then for everybody who's praying for Trump in office to be praying for Trump because they don't know him personally?
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, if you're praying for Trump to stay in office and God grants that, God is not the omnibenevolent being that he purports to be. But I always use the example look, you got two football teams and both sides are praying. Who does God decide? I don't think if God exists, he's going to give a shit either way. I mean, he doesn't intercede on those types of things. If prayer were to work, it would probably work on a very selective local level, right? The individual and other people would never really find out about it beyond a handful of people. That's the way it seemed to be, at least biblically. Prayer was not supposed to be something that changed the world, except for then when God said, hey, you know what, all you people suck, I'm going to flood the earth and kill all but 8 people. The prayer didn't help them either, right? I'm sure a lot of people, if that was the case, they were praying, it didn't do anything. So I don't see the value of praying for intercession, because historically it won't have any effect on any major scale. Could it on the individual scale? If it does intercede, then sure, it would probably be that way. But to pray the CV-19 away, that's just as absurd. I am adamantly against that kind of system where,
and that's kind of
pray and don't do anything else. Go to church and pray, and that's it. You're part of the problem.
Well, I mean, if you stay home and pray, and you just stay home, and all you're doing is staying home and praying, great, go for it. It's the grouping issue.
Or pray and donate, supplies or do something. Anytime you pray, it has to be, in my opinion, with something else to be have any kind of effect. And people say,
well, then you don't
works without dead, or you can't, or works doesn't matter.
Yeah, but then you can take the prayer out and you get the same. You get the same result.
Things get done, though, right? I mean, if I pray and I go to help a soup kitchen, and by the way, I did work at a food bank, free. I volunteered my time to help at a food bank. If you volunteer, and this is when I was a theist, right? So we would pray, and then we would, give out food. And that's the way it worked, right? That's fine, right? I got no problem with that. But if you just say, hey, we're going to pray, sit in church and pray, CV-19 goes away, where we have 100 people, 200 people, tens of thousands of people show up in these mega churches, you're part of the problem.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, do you really need to know any more about prayer working for stuff like this than the faith healing place closing?
Yeah, well, I definitely think faith healing is 100% bullshit.
So
faith healing is a con.
The next bit is
doesn't mean it can't occur. One sec. Let me clarify that. That doesn't mean it cannot happen again locally. Like if I'm sitting with you and you're about to have a heart attack, and I pray and lay on hands with you or something, and just say you get better, and you want to believe that was because of God, and whatever. I'm probably gonna let you die because I know I'm on your will now. So I want your shit. I would be willing to bet that you would have better luck if you said, I'm going to cast lay on hands, and then rolled some dice. Hey,
and then squished my boobs.
Oh,
pat me on the head.
I have to. Well, hang on. I have to give you CPR. I just didn't locate the heart properly.
Straight in the gut.
What would be happening, Cheshire? I'd be like, just let me die.
My favorite is when every so often,
just let me die.
My favorite is every so often a paladin will do an unarmed strike and say, lay on hands, slap.
Well, I guess undead you can lay on hands and that counts as healing. That counts as damage. But I probably agree with you. I don't think it probably has much of an effect, but I don't got a problem with any of that. If you want to pray, pray. I have a problem with people in these mega churches. Like I got on the other day and I talked about Pastor, Greg Anderson saying, well, we're going to have Sunday congregation. Come to church. You're a part of the problem. Or these mega pastors having church. And by the way, 2 mega pastors now have CV-19. They have canceled services because the pastors got the virus. Prayer didn't much help them.
Well, they wouldn't have. They wouldn't have canceled if they themselves didn't get it. If it was just people in their congregation, because now you know for a fact that there were people in their congregation that had it.
Yeah. But until it affects them, right? So,
or I should say, at least it's very likely that somebody in their congregation. Well, okay, so if they have it now they know for sure that people in those congregations do have it because the pastors gave it to them.
Yeah, well, it doesn't. Well, it says they were exposed. The pastors were exposed to be in the CV-19. So, and this was the church has 90,000 members, 90,000. So let's say they were exposed and they did have it. They've self-quarantined. They're not idiots. I guess they're not idiots. But let's say that they didn't, and they did have it. That's 90,000. Matter of fact, one person normally. Well. Did you the video that you sent me this video? Didn't you, about the one person? Okay, you want to talk about that real quick? The math.
It's just exponents. It's how exponents works.
Yeah. So if you have a flu transmission rate of about 1.4, 1.5, very very low, that means that I have the possibility of affecting about a little more than 24 people, about 14 people, give or take. But with something like a transmission rate of 2 to 3, like CV-19 has. One person can potentially affect up to 50,000 people. That's ridiculous. Yeah. That is incomprehensible compared to, and it doesn't sound like a lot, 1.3 to 2.8 or whatever, something. I don't know the exact figures, but it's not acceptable, a huge amount of difference. But it's enough to go from one person, I affect, a person or 2 people, and they affect 2 people. And when you're talking about exponential like that,
it is because
tens of thousands of people, but one person exposure, one.
It's because you're multiplying the number by itself, and going from 1% to 2% is a big deal because you're doubling that initial number and then doubling that number again for every single one you did. So if you go from, I'm going to maybe infect 14 people, and those people are maybe going to infect 14 people, then your growth rate is a lot lower than I'm going to infect 50 people, and those 50 people are all going to affect 50 people. That's huge. That's massive. We're talking massive numbers.
One of my ex-girlfriends was on my Facebook the other day, and she was trying to run the old, well, this is, the flu causes more deaths. And I got through to her, by the way, which was amazing because she's into this naturopathy and she's into all this alternative shit. But I gave her the numbers. She's not good at math, but I broke it down pretty simply because I knew how to break it down to her. But I'm like, this is why it's so much more worse. And I'm like, with the mortality rate of 5 or 6% for elderly in China, which is about what it's at now for elderly. It's down to like 1, 2, 3% for normative. It's still a lot. And I told her, I said, this has the potential to kill millions of people if it wasn't contained. That flu, the Spanish flu killed 500 million people, I told her. 500 million people.
It's likely to kill them very quickly, and if it does so quickly, it's likely to actually have a higher mortality rate because the hospitals and the people, the tools and the resources necessary to keep those people alive or treat those people properly early on decreases the more people are using it.
Right, and the whole point of self-isolation is so that you're not that one vector that transmits it to tens of thousands of people. You break the chain. That's it. That's the whole point of have self-isolation, whether you have it or not. I don't have it, but I haven't been going out except to go shopping. You have to have necessities.
Same. But my mom runs her own business. My mother runs her own business, and she's canceled all of her stuff. Yep. My sister also runs her own business, canceled everybody. She was just like, nope, not working.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So the next chunk of this is it's just quoting the study, and the study straight up says that the limitation they mentioned isn't what they were trying to do. Like, it specifically says that we didn't give the people who were praying access to a whole lot of information about the people they were praying for. So it kind of, the bit they quoted completely undermines their point up here, but I'm not going to read through that part of the study because we already talked about it. A second limitation is that the people praying were told to use specific canned phrases with which they may or may not have been comfortable. Dear Lord, please provide a safe surgery and a comfortable and quick recovery for X person. Really? Dear Lord, bless this food to our bodies. Canned phrases are a problem? Are they? I feel like that's bullshit. Does that sound like bullshit to you?
Yeah, it's bull. What do you think? I mean, straight up bullshit?
It is bullshit. It is straight up bullshit.
Cool. Yeah. Thirdly,
I wish we would
have
got SJ on though. I really wish she would have like. I'd like to know, what do you expect if prayer works? What would you expect to see? What do you expect to see that's any different?
I mean, I don't see why we can't bring her on later today if she's available to talk about it.
With what little I know about SJ's rhetoric, because I really don't pay that much attention to her, I would imagine that she's saying that it failed because they were attempting to study it. That might be the route she goes.
That seems so. God, that to me would be like it failed because of this, because God doesn't want people to know that it works.
Yeah, well, he doesn't. He wants people to have faith that it works and not try to figure out if it's actually working.
That's the difference, right? I mean, there's a huge difference to be had there. And again, you're dealing with something that can change. Look, Jess, if I did an experiment, and the experiment was that, hey, you know what, the speed of light can change at random at any time, right? How would you test such a thing? I mean, if you can't, you have to assume you can't. We have to assume that
it's pointless,
constant, right? Right. So if you have a variable, wait 1 second. If you have a variable that the gravity can stop working at any day when you do an experiment, you couldn't do an experiment. So if I have the conditions that God could intervene at any time and change the entire parameter of the experiment, it is not an effective experiment. However, this is a little bit different. This one is effective on this because what it's doing is it's not showing the efficacy of God intercession. It's showing that because people are being prayed for, there might have a worse result because of stress. There is a mechanism to be had there. It is showing that regardless of where God exists or not, it has a net negative effect in this particular study. Minor, but it was notable.
Quick update from news. Health officials give an update as Ontario, the province I'm in, closes all non-essential businesses. So we are officially in a lockdown now.
Yeah, and New Zealand's officially at a level 4 too, which means that it's not contained at all. So level 1 means it should be just kind of warned about. 2 means it's marginally contained. 3 means 2 means it's still contained. 3 means it has the potential to be not contained. 4 means not contained, if I'm not mistaken. So they're at level 4. It is not contained in New Zealand right now. It's spreading, which means that it doesn't have negative growth. It has positive growth. Italy, same way. Which is the epicenter right now. So, yep. By the way, I really wish I would have watched In Time on this. I missed it, and I kicked myself in the ass because I do watch In Time, but I didn't watch his take on any of this.
The thing is like the point is that using canned phrases, which makes no sense to me because the Bible straight up gives you canned phrases. Like the Bible tells you to, like, the Lord's Prayer is a thing, so
it's pretty canned. Yeah.
It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Thirdly, the patients had varying opinions on the efficiency of prayer, the efficacy of prayer, which may have impacted the results. Quote, similar propositions in the group, in group 1, 68.2%, and group 2, 63%, and group 3, 64.4%, strongly agreed with the statement, I believe in spiritual healing. So you just said that the people in the groups believed in the spiritual healing, so I don't see how you're proposing that people had different... there's a lot of assuming or projecting that people would have different views or different thought processes or different opinions, and that would somehow unverify it. Like, the only thing that would make sense to me that would unverify this is if some of the people in the group didn't believe that prayer worked. Does that make sense?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yes, it does.
A fourth limitation Christians may note relates to the specific religious sect chosen for the study. Though we were not given any other information about the beliefs of those praying for the patients, we were given the names of their sects. St. Paul's Monastery in St. Paul, Catholic, Minnesota, Silent Unity in Lee's Summit, Missouri, Universalist, the Community of Teresian? I don't know how to pronounce this. In Worcester, Massachusetts, in Catholic, Silent Unity is the sect of New Thought, which focuses on spirituality, transcendentalism, and pantheism. They call themselves Christians, but do not affirm all of Jesus' teachings, such as, quote, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one gets to the Father except through the Son. End quote. The organization's website. Really? They didn't actually put like where in the Bible that is. That surprises me.
Super chat.
Godless Scummer for 5. I've been identified as someone who's at severe risk if I catch CV-19, and I now have decided to isolate for 12 weeks. Oh, keep safe. Good luck.
Yeah,
call friends if you need groceries. If you need groceries delivered, if you're calling friends for groceries, have them leave the groceries on the porch. Like, have them call you and be like, hey, I'm here with your groceries. I'll leave them on the porch. Let them put them on the porch, then take them out, have gloves on, bring it inside, and then wipe everything down while you have the gloves on before you put anything like away in your fridge and stuff.
Yeah, and you might want to be aware that Pornhub Premium is free, Jeff.
Ooh. Pornhub's full of bros, man. I gotta say.
Yeah. So there you go, Jeff. Keep it busy for the next 12 weeks.
The organization's website.
Wait, Jeff's like, I've already reached the end of the internet on porn. It's like.
I really hope that Godless Scummer has a solid amount of alcohol available to him at his house.
Would it be bad if you got the?
I pray for that. Do you think my prayer will affect the amount of alcohol he has in his house? Everyone, pray for Godless Scummer to have enough alcohol and see if the amount of alcohol in his house actually increases.
Would it be bad if Jeff got the error message? You've reached the end. If you're congrats, you're all up to date. Like your email, right? You're all caught up. Congrats, you're all caught up on.
You're all caught up.
Everything there is to see. Yeah.
What? Worcester, Mass is called Worcester? Why isn't it called that on the sauce? What? I think this is
Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Serious is fucking with me.
I think he's fucking. Sauce. Worcestershire sauce is made out of anchovies. Did you know that?
No, I never read the back.
Yeah. I like Worcestershire sauce.
The organization's website states, quote, Unity is a positive, practical, progressive approach to Christianity based on the teachings of Jesus and the power of prayer. Unity honors the universal truths in all religious and respects each individual's rights to choose their own spiritual path. They also, quote, offer inspiration and support to millions of people who can consider themselves spiritual but not religious, end quote. The website further states, quote, we create our life experiences through our way of thinking. One way to align ourselves with the spirit is through meditations, end quote. So apparently this church is inclusive and tries to provide for people who don't necessarily follow their religious views. But on top of it, this article claimed that they don't follow the teachings of Jesus, and then they quoted them saying that they followed Christianity based on the teachings of Jesus. What? I think whoever wrote this blog has an issue with meditation and not understanding that meditation doesn't have to be like, that can be communicating with the Holy Spirit. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be emptying your mind and allowing demons to come in. It can just straight up be I'm basically praying, but I'm not saying anything to God. I'm letting God speak to me. So I think this person is.
I meditated
exactly
as a non-believer. Meditation. I've done transcendental meditation, I guess you would call it, to induce an out of body experience on more than one occasion. It is possible. I've done it. It is the most trippiest thing in the freaking world, especially when you see an entire realm fly up you like this, like out of the movie. It's just like it's like there, you see it, and all of a sudden it just comes in, and you're like standing around, and you're in a different reality, right? Or you feel yourself sinking into it, like falling on clouds, and it's a hell of an experience. But it's not easy to do. But that doesn't mean you're praying, and I believe it's all internalized to the mind. I don't.
Well, it also doesn't mean
ontology.
What I'm getting at is that it also doesn't mean you're not, because this is implying that the meditation that you're referring to is the kind of meditation that places will preach against. They'll be like, you're opening yourselves up to the devil. That's not a real experience. Yeah. And I think that's what this person is. I think that's what this person is doing, like what the author is talking about. But at the same time, if you're doing it on the basis of Christianity and you're meditating on the Spirit of God, they're implying a whole lot of shit about these people. Basically, well, according to this and this, they're not real Christians, even though we're quoting them saying this real Christian stuff. So this whole fourth limitation is just bullshit. And they didn't even cherry pick something good, like, we don't believe this particular thing about Jesus. No, they said we're progressive and practical, and we have an approach to Christianity based on the teachings of Jesus.
Some of them, they seem to cherry pick. I mean, these are real experiences, whether they're really like ontologically. No, I don't think.
Oh, yeah.
But they could be. They very well could be. But they do happen. And this is what I'm saying. When people are like, "Oh, all that stuff's nonsense." No, what I think it is that people have had these experiences before, and because they've had those experiences before, because I personally know they do exist. I have evidence of that to myself, and I know other people have as well. Or I believe that they do. I'm going to say knowledge, whatever. But, I think what people did back then is they didn't know how to process those types of experiences. They put them to something more spiritual than they really would. I think that's completely plausible. Whether that be the case or not, I don't know. But when you have a lucid dream, it's very, very, very vivid. And I know a lot of people listening have had very lucid dreams and out-of-body experiences. It doesn't have to necessarily mean you're leaving your body, but it sure feels like it, right?
Sure.
Very much so.
Helios for 2 says, let's see if we can Jesus his tap water into wine. And Godless Scummer for 2 then said, just opened a Heineken, Chesh performed a miracle.
Hey! Have you had lucid dreams? Have you had those experiences, Josh?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've had lucid dreams.
I think vast majority of people have, yeah.
Well, I also suffer from sleep paralysis, so
and me too. 6 to 8% of the population has sleep paralysis. My dad has sleep paralysis. So you know exactly annoying. How scary as a kid sleep paralysis can be. You think you're under demonic attack.
I legitimately thought I was going to die on a regular basis.
Oh yeah, I thought I started to stop breathing. I was going to have a heart attack. Now I'm 50 and I haven't died yet, so I figure I'm pretty safe, and I just play into it. And I experienced.
That's what I did one time. When I was younger, before I knew what it was and I knew what was going on and I legitimately thought it was going to kill me, I just laid into it and was like, kill me then! At me, bro! Yeah, I didn't die, and I was like, well, shit.
But that's when you have the best experiences, right? That's when you kind of it transitions into a lucid type state. And you're like, oh, okay, this ain't so bad, You
guys want to see something spooky? I'll show you. Hold on one second. Let me get it.
But I've had auditory hallucinations, visual hallucinations in those states. They're called hypnagogic hallucinations. They're quite completely normal to have, and I think the vast majority of the people have experienced something very similar at least once or more in their lives. And I think that people 2,000 years ago, if modern people experience it, then it seems legit that 2,000 years ago they experienced it, and they didn't know how to process it, and they called them visions. What the hell is that?
So this was my grandfather's, and it's just kind of a sad clown standing in the rain with a not umbrella, right? And he's just like, he's pretty heavy. He's on a bust. This dude has definitely come alive before, and like been a spooky.
Burn it with fire.
Nope. Yeah. Nope. Out the window. Nope. This dude has definitely come to life.
Oh man, I can see that happening. Yeah, I've had similar type things of things moving when they shouldn't be moving. But yeah, clowns are the worst though. I am not a clown person at all. I think clowns are inherently evil. But Bill, are you a clown person? You probably hate them too, don't you?
I don't hate them, but I don't have an affinity for them. I find the whole concept of that entertainment to be childish.
I straight up hate them.
What are we hating?
Clowns.
Oh, I don't really have that much of an issue with clowns. It's just that one has definitely come to life on occasion when it has not been. I've not been asleep in the same room with it. Where she's like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" Okay, cool.
I know. I've had that happen where I've been sitting there, and somebody will be sitting on the edge of my bed. I'll be having a full-on conversation with them, right? And we talking about I remember one time we were talking about playing a game of chess, and I'm like, okay, let's set it up. And I'm realizing that nobody's actually here, right? But I'm having this full-on conversation. I've done that a few times. You ask like questions like, so what's the meaning of life and all this, and you never get a cogent answer. This is why I'm thinking that there's no actual tapping into anything of intelligence, because I've never acquired any knowledge in that state that I didn't already have. Although hypothetically it's possible. Other people have claimed they've written music from that. They've written poetry from that. They've experienced things that led them to new products. Yeah, and there might be something to that, but that doesn't mean you're tapping into some kind of esoteric knowledge that transcend ourself, right? Because I've never answered any question that I want to know the answer to. That
it seems to me that it's more like the pieces fall into place for somebody. It's not information they didn't have. It's just information coalescing in a way that the same way it does when you're awake.
Yeah.
So the next one is, the final limitation is the most significant. Quote, all the subjects believed that friends, relatives, and or members of their religious institution would be praying for them. Group 1, Group 2, and Group 3 at 95%, 96%, 0.8, and 96%. In other words, this is such a cherry picked because this doesn't actually explain anything. In other words, the study authors did not nor could not control for the prayers from patients' loved ones for reasons of ethically and practicality. The study authors further acknowledge this limitation, along with the limitation that the patients may have prayed for themselves. This limitation alone is enough to question the validity and reliability of the results. No, it's enough to say that there are variables. That's why there's like an expected difference. That's why little bumps to like, oh, this one was at 52 and this one was at 51. Though that's why those don't count. That's why you need like a blanketed large enough difference to create a blip. 3% can be a good enough blip to be like, oh, something's going on, but it has to be consistent.
Yeah.
The question is, here's the one thing that this person does not catch on to that I think would be beneficial. Are all of the patients religious? Because that, to me, would actually be a limitation. Because this isn't a limitation, it's a variable. It's a variable they're saying they didn't account for, therefore it invalidates the study. But no, it doesn't invalidate the study. It is a limitation, but it's a limitation that's built in. It's an expected limitation. It's a variable. So it's already accounted for. But I don't know if the study ever said whether or not the people receiving the prayers and the people going into surgery were actually religious or not, and if they were from the same sect. And would that matter? Does it mean that if you're not of the same sect of Christianity that your prayers don't apply? Because that's what they implied earlier. That's what they were saying. They're not real Christians, therefore it's not going to work.
Yeah, which is just, that's the no true Christian fallacy then, right?
Yeah, no true Scotsman. So to me, this doesn't really make any sense because, again, it would be a variable, not a limitation. They're misrepresenting, again, by using the word limitation here. But again, it's a variable that is already accounted for because it's part of the reasonable expectation of fluctuation. Quote, finding that intercessory prayer as provided in this study has had no effect on complication-free recovery from CABG, which is the surgery they had, may be due to the study's limitation. Understanding why certainty of receiving intercessory prayer was associated with a higher incidence of complications will require additional study. And then in italics, private or family prayer is widely believed to influence recovery from illness, and the result of this study do not challenge this belief, end quote. So remember their first issue? Their first limitation, quote unquote, being that it didn't say, the study didn't have anything, wasn't taking into account the prayers of people that were close to them. Here's the study saying, this study isn't about that thing. Bruh. You used a quote that undermined your first point.
Yeah.
And then it's just that, and then it says keep praying, and then there's a bunch of references.
Keep praying. Keep praying for what? Yeah, like I said, pray, but unless you can explain to me how it's going to affect anything, which I haven't seen anything be affected. Neither has SJ, neither has anybody else seen anything affected worldwide. Pastors are getting CV-19, deaths are occurring exponentially. Prayer hasn't seemed to be doing much. And it's
dangerous. It's worse. If people are getting together holding hands and in tight situations, that what do you... Yeah, stop being in contact with people.
It's not an expression of your faith at that point. It's an expression of your lack of understanding of the severity of what's going on in the world. Same thing what happens with the young creationists trying to deny evolution. It's like they lack the understanding of these things are biologically evolutionary pathogens to us, and they replicate and they change, and we get exposed to new and novel viruses and bacteria because of that. But people want to deny science, right? They want to say, well, none of this is actually true, and it's God's plan. But that's something that you can believe on your own time, but don't affect me with it, right?
Interestingly enough, there's no actual link to who the hell the author was of this anywhere that I'm seeing.
It doesn't give a citation of any kind.
It just says Christian apologist, and then if I click on Christian apologist at the top, it just takes me back to the website. So unless there's only one author to the website, which it's not very, the information is not very forthcoming. Unless this was actually just written by SJ. Wait a minute, is this just written by SJ? Is this SJ's website? I'm about to freak out. Hold on. Because it's okay, so the About page says Christian Apologist Web is a site devoted to spreading the good news of Christianity. If you like these blogs, please follow SJ Thompson at Twitter on Twitter and help her get the word out.
What did she say on it?
That's her website.
This is just SJ's website. This is her blog.
Oh, it's her blog.
I had no idea. I thought this was they were. Oh my god, SJ,
no,
you got a lot of shit wrong.
She did a video on this topic, so that makes sense that she did a blog on it. Yeah, okay.
Well, that makes that. Yeah. All right, cool, neato. I didn't think that was the case because it's got a different picture and oh my god.
SJ is actually quite well known.
She's a popular apologist, yes.
For being an apologist, and when you ask her for sources, she will send you a source of herself, and then it's up to you to track through all those references and find the real information. She won't send you to the actual information.
She doesn't give you primary sources.
No, she doesn't give you primary sources.
Okay, yeah. See the references.
Often the references are quite circular in a lot of her stuff. Most of the time they're circular, which means they lead to nothing.
Okay, so yeah, here's the there's no links in her references. It says a bunch of names, and then it says study of the therapeutic effects of intercessory prayer in cardiac bypass patients, a multi-center randomized trial of uncertainty and certainty of receiving intercessory prayer, American Heart Journal. So it looks like it's not a link, but it's not what I would call a very well organized bibliography, but it does, if you search it, it does take you straight to pubmed.gov. That's the first link that comes up. And then the second one is the same study? No, one from 2004, one from 2002. Man, we could have actually had the author of this on here to answer questions about their stuff. That would have been cool. Yeah, I did not even realize this was written by her. Oh, neat.
Yeah, well, we'll try to get her on later then.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I would love to ask her a little bit more questions about this. She does not, I will say she does not seem to understand the difference between, one, what a variable is, and two, like between a variable and a limitation, and two, undermines her point from the beginning. Like the very first point she makes is undermined by the last point that she made, and then the middle one is a fallacy.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Like I said, I don't think that she understands something that's uncontrolled, where you have the ability, that God has the ability to change things on a dime. But we are going to be wrapping it up here in a few. I know that we're coming up to the 2-hour mark, so people have any questions or anything, let's get them out of the way now. Super chats are appreciated. They're split with Chesh, and of course, I pay our lovely producer here. Producer, though, will you please check the outside chat when you get a second? I want to end on this when I'm sending you, if you can find a way to show that properly. We'll end with a little levity, but anyways, what do we got for questions? Anything on people's minds?
I haven't seen any major questions come through. Give them a second to roll in. I do have one thing that I do want to clarify for people, and I think that it's kind of important: the difference between isolation and just being in like a quarantine of like your own house. So being in isolation does not mean you cannot leave your house. It means that you need to be separated as an individual. So essentially means that if you live on a quiet street, you can go for a walk around the block. Just make sure that you wash your hands if you touch anything that's like going to be touched by people. So if it's a railing, or if it's like you're crossing the street and you press the button, anything like that, make sure that you clean yourself as soon as you get home before anything else. But that doesn't mean you can't go for a walk around your block, provided there's not going to be anybody around you. So if you live on a quiet street, you can do that. If you don't live on a quiet street, you can go into your car, drive to a quiet street, and go for a walk around the block. You can sit on your deck. Don't be going downtown. Don't be going where it's busy. Don't be going into shops and stores if you can avoid it. But it doesn't mean that you have to sit inside 100% of the time, constantly doing nothing.
Agreed.
Is there any particulars about that I didn't get? I think we're good.
I'm good. Yeah, I think we're good.
Cool. Don't play cards. Don't play cards with somebody that isn't like already in isolation with you. Like if you live in a house and you've got kids, you can play cards because you're already touching each other anyway. But don't go to like, oh, I'm going to my family's real quick to say hi or drop them off some groceries and like play cards because everybody's touching the cards.
Yeah, avoid, like for example, when I went shopping, right?
Godless Scummer, you are a very particular case because you are very much in the danger zone. If you're in the danger zone, this is different. This does not apply to you. Don't go anywhere if you're in the danger zone. If your doctor tells you not to go absolutely anywhere, listen to your freaking doctor.
Yeah, when I get back from shopping, the first thing I did was wash my hands, right? Which I tend to do anyways, but I'm more cognizant of it nowadays. But yeah, I'm not in a special class. I mean, I'm over 50, but I mean, but still, I mean, when you quarantine yourself, here's the thing, and you're in self-isolation, it's not for yourself. You're doing it for other people. It needs to be recognized. You're doing it to break that chain for other people so you don't become a potential vector. That's the reason. It's more than just when you're wearing a mask, it's not to prevent you from getting sick as much as if you get something, giving it to other people. And I think a lot of people just don't understand the difference there. But all right. So anyways, I'm going to be doing something on my other channel, maybe this channel later on tonight, I think on my blog. We've got Dr. Josh Rasmussen coming up later on this week. We've got MJ Dory coming in later on. So we got some Ask a Philosophers this week. I know it's, like I said, the algorithm is messed up, so we're not getting the views like normal. So please help share this, put it on social media, put it on your Twitter and Facebook, and help get us out there because it's been rough, but it's been rough all over the place. So we appreciate everything you guys do for us. Jess, what are you guys going for us? Anything on your channel, and then we can have Bullen to take us out.
Tomorrow is halftime of the month. We're going to be talking about Onision and Kai. That'll be Nikki's thing. That's tomorrow, and that'll be at 9:45. We bumped it 15 minutes just to give Golden Unicorn a little bit more time. So that'll be tomorrow at 9:45 p.m. EST. Again, it's going to be halftime of the month, and that'll be with Onision and Kai. Other than that, I got some stuff I'm working on in the background, but I don't think any of that will be coming out and quite so soon. We do have a couple questions, if you're ready.
Yep.
So somebody was asking about a hacking thing, and then we also have a question about...
Here's my statement. Nobody was hacked. That's a fact. Nobody was hacked. Straight up. Nobody was hacked. That's a fact. That's it. It's the only people need to know.
I have, I saw the graphic that you're talking about that's been posted, and there's one thing in that graphic that's missing that should be demonstrated, that would essentially make the demonstration, and that would be, what email was hacked? What one was it? It doesn't show what email was actually hacked or what email was being hacked into, so what was the email address?
Like, hacked. I don't think they have an understanding what hacked means. Nothing was hacked.
I've talked about that before on another Caffeine Corner, the difference between hacking, cracking, and, just... There's a difference between, brute forcing. There's something called brute force hacking, and brute force hacking is essentially where you... you guys have seen the Family Guy episode.
I call it password cracking, but it wasn't cracked either. Nothing's cracked. It's just just somebody trying to posture for ego. That's it. That's all somebody's doing. It's just playing gamesmanship games to make it appear that they're some kind of victim. It's bullshit.
Yeah, as if there's more to it than what's really going on. Ooh, spooky.
There's always more to a story, isn't there? Though, but people are going to lie and manipulate people. I mean, here's what's so funny. You have the people that have been demonstrably lying to people. I mean, it's not even a question of if, it is a matter of statement of fact. And yet there's still certain people that actually buy into their bullshit when they run asininely stupid things like, oh, we were hacked. Fuck you. You were not hacked. That's bullshit. But yeah, you're going to have people believe it. Let them. Everything's going to come out eventually about everything. But if people want to believe stupid shit, they're the prerogative too. That's completely fine. But I can tell you right now, on record, it's not fact.
Jared Strain, curiosity here. Does Steve have control back of the Non Sequitur channel? There were comments made by the Non Sequitur channel alluding to the idea that a judgment had not yet been made.
The judgment has been made. It's my channel. But I haven't gotten it back yet.
No, we haven't got it back yet. Exactly.
But the judgment is already entered. That part is done.
I do believe, if I am not mistaken here, and correct me if I am wrong, but there is an order that nothing on the channel should be changed or done, and it should be passed over to Steve, and any use of the channel is in contempt of court. Yeah, because court said don't do anything.
Well, it's called a sanctionable event. It could be up to a $500 fine, up to 30 days in jail if it's non-rectifiable, or if it's something that is rectifiable. But these are censored. These are called sanctionable events. But yeah, legally it is my channel. The judge has already ruled on that. Anybody who says otherwise has clearly not read the documents. There's not even a question about that. That's objectively a fact.
So I've got a question then.
It's just not back in my possession yet.
Is that per incident? Is that per any?
I don't know, because I cannot find anything on it where it even says per incident. What it says in North Carolina state law is that a sanctionable event can be construed to be up to $500 fine and or 30 days in jail, but there's certain conditions that have to be met. One of them has to be that it's rectifiable and that it's willful.
Right.
So. Yeah. Okay. But that's for the jail time. The fine could be any type of sanction or any type of contempt. So I would imagine that's probably per sanctionable event. I would imagine.
Right. I'm just more questioning what what would be an event. So if
deleting of the Twitter.
If Kyle was
event.
Okay, so if Kyle is using the Non Sequitur Show YouTube to comment on other videos, would each comment be considered a sanctionable event as he's doing because he's doing damage to the channel with each comment? Or would it be on this video, this is more a general, you already said you don't know, this is more a general question now.
That's almost like a whole nother show or case to be argued in court. Just saying.
Yeah, it would have to be.
I will tell you this, though.
That's like a rabbit hole. to go down.
I will tell you this.
Yeah, exactly.
There was a lie. There was another lie. The Twitter account has not just been deactivated. It has been deleted because after 30 days, all Twitter accounts after 30 days of deactivation become deleted. That was a lie.
Is it possible that he could have had it deactivated, activated, and then deactivated it like boom boom without anything showing up for it? So there would be no way to know.
Hypothetically, he would have to have activated within the 30 days and then deactivated again. I have no evidence to support that fact. I will right now. I'm running on the premises that everything he says is an outright lie. He has everything. Every time he says something to me, it's a lie. There's no principle of charity whatsoever. I'm just running on the assumption that everything's a lie. And so,
well, that is the principle of charity at that point. To be honest,
it's simple game theory. There's game theory is this is the best course of action when somebody has been repeatedly dishonest is you have to treat them as something as repeatedly dishonest. And so unless I have evidence that account is not deleted permanently, that is a sanctionable, findable event which would be censored by the judge. Yes, I'm pretty. That's called spoilage of evidence. Yeah,
it's definitely interesting. Yeah, anyways, I think my question is a little bit. Maybe we get a lawyer in here, our otter friend.
Yeah, but what is a lie is that there has not been a ruling on it. That is an outright lie. There has been a ruling. The ruling is that all the Non Sequitur Show channel and all related accounts are mine. That's already been in evidence. But anyways, okay, so let's wrap it up, guys.
All of its assets.
I thought I'd leave you guys with this little funny Twitter thing that I made because a little levity for those.
We started with a funny Twitter thing. We're gonna end with a funny Twitter thing.
Yeah, COVID-19. Let's make fun of it.
It's the sticky balls.
We were warned about the coronavirus when I was a child. We didn't listen. If you guys know what these things are and look at a coronavirus, I swear to God, they look identical.
They do. They look the same.
They really do. I guess. Good night.
Have a good day, guys. Stay safe out there.